Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third episode of the Shadow Realm Sports Podcast. Again, thank you so much for tuning into the first two. We've been doing everything on the fly, everything DIY. We're doing everything we can to make this the best sports podcast show for you guys. Giving us comments, feedback, subscribing to the YouTube channel. I can't overstate how much we appreciate that. Huge shout out to my team putting in work behind the scenes. So let's get right into it, man. Yesterday was packed, full of games. 4 games throughout the night. Very first one was the Raptors versus the Sixers. Raptors on the brink of elimination, down 3-0 in the series. Just looking to use that home court advantage and succeeding in doing so. There was a couple of injuries. Scotty Barnes, shout out to Scotty Barnes, winning Rookie of the Year today. Came back from injury. Didn't really have much of an impact today. Still coming back from that injury. But congratulations to him. Had an amazing rookie season. Helped his team get to, squeeze into the playoffs. So shout out to him. First and foremost, what led to the Raptors getting their victory today? Flipping the script on the Sixers. Embiid respectfully told Nick Nurse to stop bitching about the foul calls. Today, they kind of flipped the script and the Raptors ended up getting a lot of calls going their way. 31 free throw attempts for them as opposed to the Sixers 18. And that really helped to solidify the game for them. No love lost between Siakam and Embiid. You saw they were getting into each other. And that's just what you want to see in playoff basketball, man. So I still think the series is over. You saw Embiid sarcastically clapping for the refs at the end of the game, telling them good job, giving them the game. I thought that was hilarious. That's just Embiid being Embiid. But you can never count out a team, especially when they're going up against Doc Rivers 3-1. Because, against Doc Rivers, you never know, man. You might come back on him. So that was game one for the day. All right, let's move on to the next one. Second game of the night, Jazz versus the Mavericks. This series is now tied 2-2. The Jazz ended up taking this match. Close match, 100-99, came right down to the last buzzer. Luka's coming back from injury. This is his first game of the series. He poured in 30 points, 10 rebounds. Did his thing, does his thing like always. But it just wasn't enough, actually. They needed one more basket from him. They weren't able to get that today. The defense was beautiful at the end and made him have to kick it out. Took a desperation shot and just wasn't able to get the go-ahead bucket. This one's similar to the Raptors and the Sixers game, 31 free throws to 17 attempts in favor of the Jazz. Helped them out a lot. This is just a streaky game going back and forth. There was a lot of big leads between both teams. At one point or another, each team was up by at least 10 points, but they kept catching up to each other right up until the very end. And Spider and Rudy Gobert were finally able to quiet the chatter. There's been a lot of talk about them not getting along and possibly, Donovan Mitchell's possible departure from the team after the season. So it was good to see them, connect really for the first time. I think I saw a stat somewhere that it's the first time they connect in the final minute of a go-ahead game, of a close game. So Spider was able to lob it up for Gobert for the big bucket, go-ahead bucket, and able to seal the deal. The series is now tied 2-2. In my opinion, it's the most boring series in the entire playoffs. I don't really like watching these two teams play. It's just very, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the next game. So next up, we had the game that I was mostly looking forward to, and I'm pretty sure everybody else had this marked on their calendar. Celtics versus Nets, where everybody was waiting to see what Kevin Durant and the Nets were going to do. Everybody thought that Durant was going to come out swinging. I thought Durant was going to come out swinging. I have never seen him off his game like this. This is the first time that I see him with basically no confidence in his shot, no confidence in his game. I see the talk about, Kevin Durant and his legacy is on the line with this series. If he doesn't move on, he's being carried by Steph. Whatever, all that talk. I think you could cut that noise, honestly. You can't hang somebody's legacy on the line for just one series. But I will say that KD is just having probably the worst stretch of his career at the biggest stage, unfortunately for him. Some of the stats: 23 points in the first game on 37% field goal and 6 turnovers. 27 on 23% field goals in the second game with 6 turnovers again. And 16 points on this game, 54% field goal, but he just wasn't getting any shots up. He cannot get a shot up. Every single time he touched the ball, you had 2 defenders on him. He had to pass out the ball. And again, he had 5 turnovers for the game. Just completely off his game. And again, it takes a village. You can't really hang that on KD himself. Steve Nash was not making the right adjustments, the right calls. the three guard set that he was running with Dragic, with Brown, and Kyrie Irving just was not working. Kyrie and ISO was just ineffective against this defense. You have to give credit where credit is due. I am not a Celtics fan at all. In fact, I despise them. But they are the number one defense in the league for a reason, and it's showing up here. I've never seen KD off his game like this. You got to give credit to Boston. They're just showing why they're the best team defensively, why they have Marcus Smart as Defensive Player of the Year. Again, I'm salty. Bam didn't even get consideration, but that's another conversation. I think it's just crazy how the Nets started off the season as the number one pick to be champions this year. But the whole thing with Kyrie about his personal choices, James Harden wanting out, and just the long stretches of, they had a lot of issues with the health and safety protocols, a lot of injuries. But it's crazy to see how this team, who was projected number one, is now on the brink of elimination, of getting swept. And now having to rely, or a lot of people are saying that Ben Simmons is going to be the savior for Game 4. How fucking crazy would that be? Ben Simmons, who hasn't played all year, to come in and people expecting him to be the savior, man, it's insane. I cannot believe we have fallen off this far. Not we, sorry. I can't believe the Nets have fallen off this far. I have nothing to do with the Nets. I'm all Heat, baby. But again, I always have to bring in the Heat to every conversation. I think this just shows a great coaching mind that Spoelstra has, because he went through a similar thing where he had the big three, and it's not easy. It's not easy to just get talent on the roster and just have them go out there and put up their points and do what they do. No, you have to coach them. You have to put them in position to win. I think this gives more credit to Coach Spo, how he was able to handle the big three era, go to 4 straight finals. Because you see what happens. A lot of talent. A lot of people say this is the best duo in NBA history, and they're on the brink of elimination. So shout out to Spo. Had to squeeze that in there. Heat Nation, one love. Let's move on. To round off the last game of the night, it was Minnesota versus Memphis. It ended up at 119, 118, 1-point game. And it really was a close game. It was a back-and-forth game. Very uncharacteristic game for Ja Morant. Where the hell was he? Oh, damn. Mystery. Yo, just straight up struggling the entire game. Got into foul trouble early on. But when he did come back, he just wasn't in rhythm, man. I just mystery. The biggest storyline for this game was Cat getting his redemption. Had a horrible game last game. Stayed in foul trouble. Had like 8 points. Just completely off his game even afterwards. And when the reporters were asking him about the night, he said he was just gonna regather, go home and drink some wine. He got a lot of flack for that. People thought that was very, I don't want to say childish, maybe like unprofessional. Like, how could he be thinking about drinking after a game? But to each his own. LeBron drinks wine. I drink wine. But he just wasn't handling it right. I thought he was very dismissive afterwards when people were asking him why he had such a bad game. So tonight was his redemption. Came back strong with 33 points and 14 rebounds. Absolute monster game for him. On the Memphis side, with Josh struggling, a lot of people stepped up. Bane showed up with 34 points. Brooks stepped up, 24 points for Memphis. Like I've said before, man, this team is young team, but hungry. And whenever their superstar goes down, they're able to pick it back up. I love that for them. I think if Ja was in rhythm, maybe they could have taken this game. But shout out to the rest of the squad for stepping up, making it a 1-point game. As far as Minnesota, I said this before, D'Lo is the X factor. He wasn't a factor today yet. In fact, he only had 10 points. But the other X factor, Anthony Edwards, stepped up. Second-year man. Third year? Second-year man. Dropped in 24 points. Had a scary injury at the beginning of the game, but was able to come back strong. And just helped seal the deal for the Timberwolves. So great night for basketball last night. Your Heat played today. I will be doing a full coverage of that game. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is our 3rd episode. We're going to keep evolving. We're going to keep moving forward. As always, follow us on all platforms. Shadow Realm Sports on Instagram, Shadow Realm SP on Twitter. My personal page, Do What It Do on all platforms. If you made it this far, we love you. We thank you. And that's it, man. One love. Hope to see you next time. One love.